Hello, Whisperers. We have this story from our subscriber, TSI. Hope you enjoy and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. It started with the arrogance of youth, that specific intoxicating brand of invincibility you feel when you are 20-something. Surrounded by your best friends and far away from the responsibilities of home. We were a group of 12, crammed into SUVs, traveling to Sylhet with high spirits and voices loud enough to rival the engines. We were bound for the Hum Hum waterfall, a hidden gem deep within the Rajkandi Reserve Forest. To us, the forest is just great scenery. It was a lush green playground waiting to be conquered for Instagram stories and profile pictures. We cut through the rough terrain, the tires kicking up red dust, laughing as the signal faded from our phones. We reached our destination and dropped our main luggage at the camp. Well, calling it a camp is generous. It was a cluster of tin shed structures, a small village settlement clinging to the fringe of wilderness like a barnacle on a whale. The locals looked at us with that mix of amusement and weariness reserved for city tourists. So we decided to rest, gathering our energy before the 10-kilometer trek to the falls. We smoked, joked, and wasted time, but our local guide, a wiry man with skin like weathered leather and eyes that darted too much, was already on the edge. He wasn't just impatient. He was fearful. He kept checking the position of the sun, pacing back and forth. He pushed us, insisting with an odd, trembling desperation that we needed to return to the village before sundown. The jungle changes when the light goes, he warned us in a thick dialect. You don't want to be under the canopy when the shadows connect. But we were young. We didn't give a shit about village superstitions or daylight schedules. We rolled our eyes at his warnings. Then we started the 3-hour trek around 12 p.m. Far, far later than any experienced trekker would advise. As we entered the thick, suffocating greenery, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew heavy, saturated with humidity and the smell of wet earth and rotting vegetation. The sunlight, which had been blinding in the clearing, was now strangled by the canopy, filtering down in thin, pale beams. The guide stopped us and eventually put a finger to his lips and asked us to stay quiet. Well, I found that strange. Usually guides encourage chatter and noise to scare off wild animals. Silence is dangerous in the wild. But eventually, the silence that befell the forest felt heavy, felt intentional. It felt like he was trying to hide us from something that was already listening. When we finally reached the waterfall, the beauty of it washed away our unease. It was majestic. The water crashed down from the cliffs with a deafening, cleansing roar, creating a mist that cooled our sweat-drenched skin. It was hypnotic. We dumped all our phones, every single one of them, into my friend Ruhi's waterproof dry bag for safekeeping, sealing them away. And then we dove right in. We waddled in the water, splashing, taking pictures, and laughing. For that hour, we felt infinite. We let the gunk and stress of the city wash off our skin. For a moment, we completely forgot the guide's warning. But the guide would not relax. He refused to even step into the shallow water. He stood on the muddy shore with his back to the falls, scanning the dense tree line. He was pacing, muttering to himself. Every few minutes, he would shout over the roar of the water, pestering us, reminding us that the return trip was another 3 hours, and we had to beat the sun back to the camp. The urgency in his voice finally poured water on our fiery mood. The water, once refreshing, started to feel cold, and reluctantly, we decided to head back. And disaster struck immediately. As soon as we stepped out of the water and onto the muddy trail to leave, my friend Asif slipped on a mossy rock and rolled his ankle. It wasn't a simple stumble. We heard the sickening pop of ligaments stretching beyond their limits, followed by Asif's sharp cry of pain. The guy didn't just look concerned. At this point, he looked horrified. His face drained of color. It was a look of pure dread, as if he knew right then that we had sealed our fate. He looked at the sky, then at the deep woods. Within minutes, Asif's ankle swelled into a massive ball, turning a violent shade of purple. He couldn't put any weight on it. He couldn't even walk. So we made a split decision to avoid delaying the whole group, a decision that seemed logical at that time, but will haunt us forever. Go, I told the others. We'll handle him. The three of us, myself, my friend Panto, along with the injured Asif, would stay behind and move at a slower pace. The guide would take the other 9 ahead to the camp, so they wouldn't be stranded in the dark. We figured we would move slowly, follow the clear trail and catch up. We'll follow the trail and be back in no time, Panto said, adjusting his backpack. Boy, were we wrong. The main group left. We watched them disappear around the bend, their voices fading quickly. Too quickly. Asif leaned his heavy weight on our shoulders, hopping and limping along. We moved like that for an hour, like a grotesque three-legged race. The forest grew quieter. The birds stopped singing. The cicadas, which usually scream in the afternoon heat, fell silent. The only sound was Asif's labored breathing and the crunch of dry leaves under our boots. As the shadows lengthened, stretching across the ground like grasping black fingers, a cold realization hit me. I looked at the trees. They looked wrong. They looked twisted, older than the ones we had passed earlier. Vines hung like hangman's nooses from the branches. Panto! I whispered. This isn't the path. It hit us violently. We were mindlessly lost in the Rajgandhi forest in the middle of nowhere, with the sun bleeding out of the sky. Panic, cold and sharp, rose in my throat. Check the GPS, I told Panto with my voice rising. Panto patted his pockets, then froze. He looked at me with wide eyes. The bag, he whispered. Ruhi has the bag. All our phones were still sitting in Ruhi's waterproof bag with the main group miles away. We were cut off. No connections, no map, and the light fading fast. Panto, usually the calmest of us, took a breath. Okay, wait here. There was a fork back there. I'm going to scout ahead and find the real trail. If I find it, I'll call you. If not, I'll come back and we'll figure something out. He walked off into the trees and was swallowed by the gloom. I sat there in a small clearing, massaging Asif's swollen ankle. The pain and the creeping fear finally broke him. Asif started sobbing, his shoulders shaking, blaming himself for getting us stranded. It's my fault. We're going to die here. It's my fault. He blubbered. I laughed it off. A harsh, fake laugh meant to mask my own terror. Shut up, you big baby, I said. We're not going to die. Panther will be back in 10 minutes. You just take a nap. We sat in the clearing, the dense forest wall looming in front of us like bars of a cage. It felt like hours passed. The sun seemed to be racing towards the horizon unnaturally fast, though my watch said it was only 4:30 p.m. The silence was deafening. It wasn't empty silence, it was a someone's watching kind of a silence. Uneasy, I told Asif to stay put, while I walked a few paces to the edge of the clearing to look for Banto. I screamed out Banto's name. Banto! Banto! No response. Just the echo dying in the trees, swallowed by the moss. I waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then from my left, deep in the thick brush, I heard him. Tasin, Asif, come here, I found the trail. It was Banto's voice. Unmistakable, but it sounded flat, devoid of the panting breathlessness one would expect. He repeated it. Tasin, Asif, come here, follow my voice. But at that point, we really didn't think much about it, except for the relief we felt that our friend found the way back. Relief washed over me so hard I almost collapsed. I'm coming, I yelled back. I ran back to Asif with the good news. He found it. Get up, let's go. I hoisted Asif up, his arm draped over my neck, and we took a few clumsy steps towards the voice on the left. And suddenly, Banto popped out of the bushes from the right side of the clearing. He looked sweaty, out of breath, and frustrated. Couldn't find it, he said, panting. We need to... He stopped. He saw the look on our faces. We were frozen, staring at him. Then looking to the left. What? Why are you looking at me like that? He asked. I stammered. You were just calling us from over there. I pointed to the left. Banto shook his head. I didn't say a word. I was saving my breath. And then he heard it too, from the deep woods on the left. The voice called out again, clear as day, piercing the twilight. Tasin, Asif, come here, I found the trail. It sounded exactly like Banto, same pitch, same cadence. But now that the real Banto was standing next to me, I could hear the difference. The voice in the woods lacked warmth. It sounded like a recording being played back by something that didn't understand the words. Banto's eyes went wide. Color drained from his face. That's not me, he whispered, terrified. We need to go, I said, my voice trembling. Now. We weren't just lost. We were being hunted. With eyes widened in the fear of the unknown, and without wasting a second, we grabbed Asif and moved. We moved as fast as a cripple and two terrified boys could move. I didn't know how Banto stayed calm, but he somehow found a faint depression in the grass that remotely looked like a trail and shoved us onto it. Now it became a race against the sun. We moved through the thicket, swatting away sharp plants and branches that seemed to reach out for us, tearing at our clothes and skin. Then the forest began to speak. It wasn't just Banto's voice anymore. From the darkness to our right, we heard our friends from the first party. Over here, we're waiting. Tasin, Asif. It sounded like Miraj, like Ruhi. Asif, desperate and delirious with pain, shouted back, We're here! Help us! Banto slapped him across the face hard. Shut up! Banto hissed, his eyes wild. Don't you get it? That's not them. If you answer, they can find us. Asif whimpered, holding his cheek, realizing the horror of our reality. We barreled down the trail until Asif screamed and fell, dragging us down with him. "Something grabbed me!" he shrieked, kicking at the air. It grabbed my ankle. I shone my small keychain light, our only source of light, at his leg. There was nothing there but vines, but on his skin, rapidly bruising, was the distinct impression of long, thin fingers. We scrambled to nurse him back up, glancing behind us into the darkening void. The sun was gone. The forest had transformed. The trees were no longer wood and leaf. They were pillars of a great, dark temple, and we were the trespassers. And the voices multiplied. We heard everyone. I heard my mother calling me for dinner. Panto heard his girlfriend whispering his name. We heard people who should be miles away in the city, safe in their homes, calling from the trees around us. "Come to us, it's safe here. We know the way." The forest was digging into our memories, pulling out familiar sounds to lure us off the path. It was a psychological assault. With hearts beating out of our chest, we ran, dragging Asif between us. The voices got louder, closer. They were right behind our ears, I swear, amidst the chaos. A cold, wet whisper brushed right against my ear, distinct from the shouting. It wasn't a human voice. It was the sound of dry leaves grinding together. "You belong to the forest." I let go of Asif, turning back sharply to punch whatever was there. Nothing. Just empty, suffocating darkness. It was fully dark now, pitch black. We could barely see our hands in front of our faces, and suddenly we saw lights ahead. Floating, bobbing lights. Voices called to us from that direction. "You're almost there. Come this way." We didn't dare stray from the trail. We could barely feel under our feet. The adrenaline was fading and our legs were giving out. We had no idea how far the camp was. Thorns tore at our skin, leaving bloody marks on our bodies. And through the dim, floating lights and the echoes of loved ones calling, we pushed on. Something tried to grab Panto's shoulder. A tug so hard he stumbled. Something clawed at the back of my shirt, ripping the fabric. We were terrified, sobbing openly now, but we kept moving. Then, like salvation, we saw a flame ahead, a campfire. We thought we were safe. We thought we had made it. A figure stood near the fire. It looked like one of our friends waving. "Where are you going? You're here. Sit down. You're safe." The voice yelled without any emotions. It sounded like Miraj. Asif tried to move towards them. "It's Miraj, we're here." But my instincts, some primal alarm bell buried deep, screamed at me. The fire was too far off the trail. I grabbed Asif by the collar. "Wait." I squinted at the figure by the fire. As the figure stepped closer to the light, I saw its eyes. There was something wrong with them. They were shining. Human eyes don't reflect in the dark, but these eyes glowed green, yellow like a cat. And then I saw the others. More figures stepping out from behind the trees near the fire. All of them had faces that looked almost like our friends, but their expressions were slack, their movements jerky and wrong, and all of them had those shiny, predatory eyes. "Don't stop," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. It's not them. Keep moving. We didn't stop. We kept moving along the trail and our friends followed us. They didn't run, they didn't sprint, they walked calmly, maintaining a menacing pace parallel to us through the dense bush. Why are you running, Tasin? Come, sit down, rest. They kept getting closer. We could hear their footsteps, too heavy, too synchronized. At this point, caution was gone. Now we were screaming for help, screaming at the top of our lungs, begging for some human to hear us and guide us out of this hell. God knows how long we ran. It felt like an eternity. And then a miracle. A beam of harsh white light cut through the darkness from the opposite direction. It moved frantically, searching. It hit us in the faces, blinding us. Tasin bhai, is that you? A voice boomed. It was the guide. We collapsed at his feet, babbling, crying, trying to explain the horrors pointing behind us. They're coming. They're right there. Asif screamed. The guide didn't ask questions. He looked at our faces and then he looked behind the three of us, into the dark where we had just come from. His eyes went wide, reflecting sheer, unadulterated terror. He saw what was chasing us. Didn't say a word. Didn't try to fight it. He grabbed my shoulder with a grip like iron. Run, he said. Do not look back. The camp is close. He practically dragged us the last few 100 meters. We barely reached the camp. When the electric lights of the settlement hit us and we saw the faces of the real people we knew and loved finally surrounding us, we collapsed. We lay in the dirt, heaving, crying, but safe. We were safe. But the nightmare wasn't over. We sat around the fire, shaking. We need to call home, I muttered. Ruhi, can you give me my phone? Ruhi handed us our phones from the waterproof bag. Our friend Miraj, the real Miraj, looked at us, confused. What do you mean you need your phones? You guys have been answering us for the last hour. My blood ran cold. The camp went silent. What? I whispered. I called you, Miraj said, pulling out his own phone to show the call log. An hour ago. And 30 minutes ago. You answered, Tasin. You said, we're fine. We're taking a shortcut, don't worry. I looked at my phone in my hand. It had been locked in a waterproof bag inside a backpack for 6 hours. It had zero signal. It doesn't make sense, I whispered. Nothing did. We tried to explain, but everyone blamed it to panic and adrenaline and hallucinations. They thought we were crazy. We cleaned up, patched Asif's leg, and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the glowing eyes. I heard the mimicry. The following afternoon, I sat alone on the edge of the hills, smoking a cigarette and staring at the forest. It looked deceptively peaceful in daylight. Just trees and birds. The guide, the man who saved us, approached me. He asked for a smoke, clearly trying to spark a conversation. He lit it, took a long drag, and looked at me with serious, hollow eyes. Do you understand now why I wanted to be back by sundown? He asked me softly. Yes, I replied, the word heavy in my throat. He exhaled slowly. You were lucky I found you. A few more steps, and you three would have been like the things you saw last night. I looked at him, feeling a cold shiver despite the midday sun. "How do you know what we saw?" "Because they were standing right behind you when I shined the light," he said, his voice flat. "They can't touch us locals. Our elders protect us. But you?" I asked him what they were. "We don't know," he said quietly. "The elders tell us they are ones who got lost in the dark. They slumber here, and they come for anyone who disturbs their peace." We left Sylhet that evening. We didn't even speak for the entire drive back to Dhaka. We just wanted the noise of the city, the traffic, the pollution, anything man-made to wash away the memory of those ancient woods. It has been 6 months since we came back. Asif's ankle healed, though he walks with a slight limp when it rains. Pantho buried himself in his studies. We don't talk about that night. We don't even hang out as a group anymore. It's too hard to look at each other without remembering the shining eyes and that life-changing night at the Rajkandi forest. We thought we escaped. We thought that because we reached the camp, we were free. But the guide was right about one thing. The hills don't like to let go. I live in the middle of the city now, surrounded by millions of people. But sometimes when the room is quiet or when the fan spins in a certain rhythm, I hear it. It's not loud. It's a whisper right at the edge of hearing. It sounds like dry leaves grinding together. And it's not just me. Last week I ran into Pantho at a coffee shop. He looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes. We made small talk, pretending everything was normal. Then from across the crowded cafe, someone laughed. It was a normal, happy laugh, but Pantho flinched. He went rigid. His coffee splashing onto the table, his eyes darted around the room, terrified, searching for a source that wasn't there. He looked at me in that split second. I knew he heard it too. He heard his name being called from the corner of the room. He heard the forest trying to lure him back. We never answer. When I hear my mother calling me from the other room, I wait until she calls me twice, just to be sure it's really her. When my friends call my name on the street, I don't turn around immediately. I check their eyes first. I check to make sure they aren't shining. We survived the Rajkandi forest. We made it out alive. But in the silence of the night, when the city sleeps and the shadows stretch across my floor, the hills still call. And I'm terrified that one day I might forget and I might answer. Shubharatri. Sleep lightly.